All right, all right. School is back in full swing, and so is campus connection. Let me hear some virtual noise, some noise
Woo!
people. Welcome, 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 everyone. We do this every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. here on the Family Station, where we talk all things relating to school, education, students, teachers, and more. If you are new around here, we welcome you, and we hope that you will stay with us even beyond this show. By the way, I am Jonathan Fletcher, and I got my co-host here with me.
Yes, Jonathan. It's another week. Wow, another episode. And guess what? We hope everyone got some rest because free paper bun. Bun up. Good
Facts.
evening to every student, teacher, principal, janitor, security, wherever you are from, whatever school you're repping. I'm Anesta, and guess what? We go all the way till 6:30 p.m. So you can join us on Love 101 FM Jamaica. That's our Facebook or YouTube page. And you can also share with us your comments right there. So, Jonathan, how was your break?
Break,
Did you
what
even have a
break?
break?
What break? Remember, we're no longer campus side, so we don't have that luxury of having a break. But it was a good Easter period,
Yes.
and I had a lot of fun and a lot of good time recognizing the true meaning of the season. How was your Easter period?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I just recently attended a conference, and it was just powerful. The Lord moved, the Lord spoke, and guess what? I'm so happy to be here, back in Jamaica, back home.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
uh, so that is very good to have you back
Thank you so
with us
much.
in the land of our birth,
Right?
Jamaica land we love. So let's take a look on what's on for today's timetable in today's show. We have
Mhm.
education news and bulletin, and that will be brought to us by our student partner for the month of April.
And guess what? We also have our honor roll student, Roberto Morgan, this week, Jonathan. He's
Mm-hmm.
an upper sixth form student. Now, listen to this: upper sixth form student, head boy at the St. Jago High School, ISCF president,
Mm-hmm.
junior chaplain, outstanding CSEC student. He got 10 ones, and he's the top Cape Unit 1 student.
And listen,
Wow.
he even reach university yet, and
I'm
he's
telling
already
you. And
blazing
his
the trail
resume
of
is already
excellence.
longer than mine.
And also, in
Wow.
our Let's Talk About It segment, we're going to be taking a look at should teachers have licensed firearms? Our guest this week will be Jamaica Teachers Association President, Mr. Winston Smith, President
Mhm.
of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, and Mr. Leighton Johnson, Principal of the Mushet High School.
And we also have our social talkback question. And this week we're asking, do you think teachers should be armed, seeing that students are armed? We look
Mm.
forward to your feedback as always via our WhatsApp line. So go to 876-997-3125. Add that number to your phone and join us also on Facebook or YouTube and leave your feedback right there in the comment section.
Very interesting show we have coming up. A little bit of controversy here and there, but I love when we get deep into the matters that are happening in our school. So, with that being said, it's now time for the news. Much has been happening, and we want you
Mhm.
to stay in the know. So, our student partner for the month of April is Fredrine Simpson, student at Distinction College with pending certification in media broadcasting, who will share the latest news stories for us today. Go ahead, Fredrine.
Good afternoon, Jonathan and Esther. How are you?
We're
We're
doing well.
good.
How
We're
are you?
good.
All right, so good day and welcome to Education News and Bulletin, April 2022, here inside Campus Connection. I am Fredrine Simpson. The St. Andrew Technical High School community and the local football fraternity is in mourning over the shooting death of 18-year-old Omar Leng, who was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting on Friday, April 22 in West Kingston. Information from the Gleaner is that Leng was celebrating his 18th birthday when he was killed. Two others were also shot in the incident. Leng, a promising footballer who played for St. Andrew Technical High School Stats, as well as Iranian Jamaica Premier League champions Cavalier, had competed in the recently concluded 2021-2022 ISA Digital Manning Cup season, finishing as the top goal scorer for his school and was in the Cavalier setup. Stakeholders across the region still questions the timing of this year's Caribbean Examination Council (SACE) exams, which is slated to begin very early. Educators are of the view that SACE should push back the CSEC and Cape Exit exams as students are not fully prepared due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Education Minister Honorable Favour Williams said her ministry has requested an urgent meeting with Senator Kay McConney, chairwoman of CARICOM's Council for Human and Social Development, to appeal for an extension as she believes the students deserve additional time for the exams. This was done following a survey conducted on Friday, February 23rd and March 8th about the preparedness of students for CXC exams, where some 2,812 students were surveyed and 1,754 of them expressed the need for additional time to prepare. Williams noted that despite numerous appeals, CXC did not grant an extension of the examination dates. Miracle Travel Limited, a job placement service contracted by a group of Caribbean Maritime University (CMU) students to secure J1 visa summer work and travel program in 2020, is now under growing scrutiny for an information blackout after pleas for the refund of thousands of US dollars. The affected students explained that they were first introduced to the company on campus, but their plans crashed when the world was struck by the COVID-19 pandemic, making travel increasingly difficult or impossible. Many tertiary students were then charged a US $400 cancellation fee by work and travel agencies, while others were later promised refund in 2021. Miracle Travel Limited was reportedly among those who made refund promises. However, repeated attempts to contact them by phone have been unsuccessful, even with them promising students that their position was secure for the following summer. The Labour Minister has advised those students to make contact with its office to file a formal complaint against the agency, which would trigger an investigation. It's now time for Campus Bulletin. And inside Education Bulletin for today, we have the St. Andrew High School hosting their ISCF week this week, Monday, April 25th to Saturday, April 30, 2022, under the theme Connecting the Disconnected to the Eternal Father's Healing Love. There will be a host of activities, which includes a movie day on Thursday at 2 p.m., and they end the week with a feeding project on Saturday. And that's all the news we have for you here inside Education News and Bulletin. Be sure to tune in next week for more news updates. I am Fredrine Simpson.
Fredrine, before you go, before you leave us, we know that it's your final day with us. And we know you dedicated so much time to share the news. So we just wanted to get to know you a bit more before you take off. So can you just share with us briefly what was your college journey like?
All right, so completing the course in media, broadcasting, and communication, it was somewhat very exciting because part of the course was that we got to do practical sessions in studio. So we got to do live practicals in studio, where here at the Institution Distinction College, we have
Mhm.
a radio program, right, on Best 100 FM. So on Sunday mornings, we got to go into studio, we got to do on-here shows, on-here presentations, and it was exciting, the journey with the facilitator and the classmates. My classmates, they were the
Mhm.
best. Like we formed this bond. We met for, it was 4 to 5 months, and it was like we
Mhm.
have known each other since forever.
Nice.
Wow.
Sometimes it gets overwhelming because then you're not sure what is expected of you and what to expect in the media world, or when you go for a live feature, you're not sure what is expected, you're not sure if you're going to make a mistake or whatever. So it's a little bit of scary sometimes, but
Mhm.
that's what makes it more exciting.
So, on that note, how do you balance school and a full-time job? What's that like?
All right, how I balance school and a full-time job. My work schedule is, all right, so I have a 9 to 5. I'm at
Mhm.
work Mondays to Thursdays. I have my day off on a Friday, and then I'm back at work on a Saturday. So I have to do everything that I have to do on a Friday and a Sunday. But then school came in, and I had my classes on a Friday evening.
Mhm.
So Friday evening, when I was supposed to be somewhere having a little bit of fun or enjoying some quiet and some peace, I was in school, and then on Sundays I was in studio. So it was somewhat difficult. It became challenging at some point, but then they say if it is what you want, then it is what you're going to do, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get where you want to go. And that was what I did.
Nice.
What can Jamaica expect from you following this your time here on Love 101?
All right. What can Jamaica expect from me? I expect to be out there in the media world, presenting to people. I expect to be at events, hosting events, doing the best that I can do. I'm hoping to further my studies in media. I'm looking to start very soon to do further studies in media and to gain more experience. I wouldn't mind gaining more experience at Love FM, no doubt, but I'm definitely looking to further my studies in media.
Awesome, awesome. And we want to thank you so much for choosing Love 101 to even share the news with our fellow students. We appreciate all the research that goes into it, all the behind the scenes work, and even just your presentation. Thank you so much. And we do wish you all the best.
That's right. That's right. All the very best, Fredrine, in your future endeavors. We
It
really do
was my
thank you for.
pleasure. It was my pleasure, and I'm so grateful to have been here with you guys. You guys made it easy for me. Whatever it was that I needed, I had assistance. I got help from the producer, so it was wonderful. Got all the help that I need. So I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity to be here, to be a part of Love 101 FM, even if it was just for a short period of time.
Wow, not Fredrine wanting us to cry on air.
I know.
All
I
right,
know. How
Fredrine.
you just do that? How you just do that?
So all the very best. That was our education news and bulletin student partner for the month of April, Fredrine Simpson. And Fredrine, we want to encourage you to continue to blaze the trail of excellence.
Yes, it's now time for our testimonial feature. I'm sorry. We it's now time for our honor roll feature. Love 101 admires hard work, resilience, and we choose to acknowledge outstanding academic performances that vary from school to school. So this segment of the show, guys, it's aimed at highlighting those who are going above and beyond from enlarged different levels of education. We want to welcome you to this segment, and we're highlighting those A plus, B plus, even C grade students. This is how we choose to honor excellence. This is honor roll. Dum dum
No,
dum.
no, guys, listen to this. Listen to this. Our honorable student for today is Roberta Morgan. Let me catch my breath. So, upper sixth former,
Mm-hmm.
head boy at St. Diego High School,
Mm-hmm.
ISCF vice president,
Mm-hmm.
junior chaplain,
Mm-hmm.
outstanding C-Sec student, 10 ones,
Wow.
and top Cape Unit 1 student. I hope I captured
Top,
as
top, top,
many
top.
things as I could have just now. He is also aiming to be a civil engineer. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Roberta Morgan, or honor roll student for
Wow.
today.
What
Roberta,
a
greetings.
long resume, sir. Welcome to the show.
Can go ahead and unmute your mic. All right, seems as if Roberta is having a bit of technical difficulty.
Wow. Looking at this
All right, go ahead. Go
resume.
ahead now. You can. Oh, I think I see what you're doing. You can unmute the mic now and speak.
Good evening. Thanks for
All
having me.
right, brilliant,
Welcome,
brilliant.
welcome, Roberto.
All right, so let's get straight into it. So, question, Roberta, I really want to know, with somebody who has such an extensive resume, did you ever struggle in primary school or in high school from an academic point of view?
Well, if I could revisit primary school, I think from grades 1 to 3, I probably was a slow learner, but I think my success would have been credited to another student, actually, somebody who I admired, who really inspired me, was a high flyer actually in the class. I won't say his name, but he would have inspired me, and I think from there I went on the school chancellors at the primary level team, and from there I started to pick up in academics and started to, in terms of excelling. I loved the math, and from there you really took off for me academically.
Mhm. And we've read your resume, but what would you say are some of your major achievements, even outside of some of these things we've mentioned here?
Well, one major achievement that I think I take it personally because it's kind of a secret aspiration of mine, and it was actually when I would have entered an essay competition. It was the Commonwealth essay competition 2021, and I decided to do an entry, and to my surprise I was a bronze awardee, and that was very surprising. I was, just astonished by my accomplishment, and it really kind of motivated me to start actually um, pursue writing even more. So that was a major achievement. Other major achievements probably in the church and what I was able to accomplish, as a Christian. That too kind of stands out to me as well.
Hmm.
You mentioned just now that you are in the church and you are a Christian and all of that. And, oftentimes persons say that God helps those who help themselves. But the question I want to ask you, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you didn't have enough time to help yourself? So instead of studying, you decided to SWAT before an exam. Have you ever experienced something like that before?
Well, I think for the most part, I would balance quite well. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's functional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in terms of swatting, I'm not sure if I've ever been necessarily unprepared for an exam, but I can remember distinctly in 2020, I think it's COVID year, CSEC examinations, paper ones. I was so glad they kind of ruled out the paper two because probably that would change the results. But paper one, I swatted straight through. I mean, you have nothing to do but SWAT. I mean, studying is a stretch, so swatting worked multiple tries, and yes, it worked out well for me because as you can see, the grades would have reflected that.
Wow. So um you're doing all of this, and I'm wondering, how do you find the time to truly balance everything? Where did you learn that discipline? Was it home? Was it from a teacher? Who How did you learn to balance your time?
Well, I think it's over time I cultivated that discipline in particular because time management, kind of avoiding procrastination, that can be challenging. But I believe from actually aspiring and actually looking up to others, I have a mentor. I look to him as well. He kind of helped me.
All right. Seems as if. All right, Roberto, we're not hearing you.
Oh.
All right, we're having a bit of technical difficulties um, with Roberto's
Hearing
connection.
me?
Yes, hearing you now.
Yes.
Okay, so right, I would have been mentored as well. So that kind of helped me shape me and mold me in terms of having that discipline to manage my time and actually balance all the responsibilities and that I have, both at school, extracurricular activities, and also in the church.
Mm, wow. And what you said that you're also a Christian, of course, ICF vice president and junior chaplain. What is your role, or how do you balance even your Christian life with your grades and everything else in between?
Well, I believe that my academic success is kind of a result of my Christian life
A
because
word.
I truly believe that um, one of my personal mantras is, well, aspire and achieve through prayer and diligence. And basically, what that means that the person who anything is possible for the person who prays and is willing to work. There's a popular adage that says God plus education equals success. And even yesterday in ISF, in our ISF at school, we had a motivational talk surrounding that. And one of the main points that came out is that faithfulness with diligence or faithfulness with ambition and a desire to succeed, will be fruitful. It will, actually excel. So that's one of the foundations I have personally, and I think that probably kind of a credit to my academic success, my Christian life, my relationship with God.
Amazing, amazing, an absolute word right there from Roberto Morgan, or honorable student inside Campus Connection. But
Mhm.
Roberto, let's take it back a bit. Your school just won the school challenge quiz competition.
Right.
Congratulations! I'm saying that with a
Thank you.
heavy heart, because I'm an Ironite, so it's not easy to extend that.
Push.
Congratulations, but I humbly, sir, will go ahead and
Appreciate that.
do that. And your school also placed third
Mhm.
in the ISA Boys and Girls Championships um, that happened last month. So I'm sure that
Right.
you guys are beaming with joy as relates to that. So the question I wanted to ask you then, did you ever find yourself at some point in time having to give a pep talk or some amount of motivation to the team members or the team that went to either school challenge quiz or to champs?
Well, for the most part, in terms of the quiz team, they would be, kind of training, just focused on training. So most times they probably won't be on campus. You won't find them on
Mm,
campus. And, that is understandable because they're so actually determined to actually win. So all their focus goes and dedication goes to, studying and so on. And for the most part, one of the main segments we have at Tenjego is our devotion sessions, and in those sessions, I think it's very critical for school spirit overall. And there, you that's where you kind of bring home or bring motivation to the students. You encourage them. So even on just before quiz finals. We build the momentum from the very devotion, gave a message, and we build the San Diego spirit. And I think that would have helped us to, really have that unity, and foster that energy, to positive vibration energy, to actually
Mhm.
go on in the finals. And similarly with champs, that's the same culture, same experience at San Diego. We put full support to our teams, and
Nice.
we have that school spirit always going, right? So that helps.
Okay. And what can Jamaica expect from you, Roberto, after your tenure here at St. Jago High School? What can Jamaica expect from you?
Well, for me, my vision would kind of be twofold in terms of my career being a civil engineer. Of course, you will look to impact your country as best as possible, or as best as you can, and also in ministry, Christian. So that's my vision. So many times I would have availed myself in ministry to be doing prayers and moderating, probably on the radio and so on, and writing as well. So that's where I kind of choose to, have my impact on different communities right across Jamaica.
Absolutely
Awesome.
amazing. And we want to wish you all the best. Roberto, you are already on a positive path.
Yes.
So really and truly, the sky is not even your limit, because you have availed yourself not just to do excellently in school, but to also blaze the trail of excellence, even in ministry, in serving God. So all the very best in your future endeavors.
Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much.
And before you go, do you have any shout outs or big ups that you want to extend?
Well, of course, I will kind of shout out my family. I think they're tuning in. My mother, my father, my sister, my church family as well, my school family. Big shout out to you. I really appreciate the support they have given me. So big shout out to everybody who is tuned in on Love FM. I watch you guys religiously. My station is always on Love, so I'm tuned in. So I really appreciate being invited.
Thank you
Awesome,
so much. We
awesome.
appreciate it. We really do appreciate it. So
Big
that
up all
was,
the Jago people.
yeah, man, big them up, big them up. That was Roberto Morgan, our honor roll student for today. An excellent young man
Mhm.
doing amazing things, not just in school, but even in ministry. So we have to big him up all the time.
Yes.
Right now, we have our Let's Talk About It segment, and we are going to be looking at, should teachers, ladies and gentlemen, have licensed firearms?
And we take a break right here on Campus Connection. When we get back, though, we're going to head straight into Let's Talk About It. And we're going to take your feedback on our social media talkback question. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after these messages.
I want to go on bank campus. Young people like a hard bank campus. Come on, tell me back one. Campus connection, yeah, that's a one now, yeah.
How to learn to save. Enough ways to save. You can open a savings account or even start a partner plan with your favorite financial institution. To find out about more ways to save, you can research online or check out the financial products offered at a licensed deposit taking institution, such as commercial banks, building societies, or merchant banks.
This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
I'm advice I don't know all this shot and tally. I have a message to everyone. Get vaccinated. Hey, tourism the main driver of the local economy. It provides us with jobs, feed the country. So everybody in the industry, get the job and come follow me. It don't hurt to the nerd. Link the nurse cause the vaccine work. Get vaccinated. Yeah. This is a message from the Ministry of Tourism. Get vaccinated. Just get vaccinated. You're deaf?
I choose to start this year smiling with Colgate-Palmolive. By purchasing selected Colgate-Palmolive products at participating stores, receive premiums or samples. Promotion available from February 1st to March 17th. Go on, what are you waiting for? Start this year smiling with Colgate-Palmolive. We all want to go higher. BPM Financial is the way to go higher. At BPM, your dreams are possibility. At BPM Financial, we'll share your hope, help you build, help you save for what life brings you higher in this life.
BPM Financial, taking you higher.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
Okay, where are the campus heights? Students are strap up in a price. We see, I want to go on from campus. Young people are going hard from campus. Come on, tell me back one. Campus connection,
Welcome back. This is Campus Connection, and I am Jonathan, and with me is my co-host Anesta. It's time to get into our Let's Talk About It segment. Today we're going to be talking about should teachers have licensed firearms? That's
And
what
our
we will be focusing on this evening. A very interesting question. I may add, I already have some for you.
why does it sound like you're ready to give some trouble, Jonathan?
We will see what happens this
Okay,
evening.
our guests for this week are the Jamaica Teachers Association President Winston Smith. We also have with us the president of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright. And we have Leighton Johnson, who is the principal of the Mouchette High School, who has had to deal with a stabbing incident recently. And so remember, listeners and viewers, we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. You can join us and leave your feedback in the comment section. You can send us a message via our WhatsApp line. Just go to 876-997-3125.
That's right. And welcome to Campus Connection, Sir Smith, Sir Johnson, and Sir Wright. So, amid the recent spate of stabbing incidents at schools, there are mixed views among our educators and even our students as relates to permission being granted for teachers to arm themselves while carrying out their duties on the school premises. A lot of different persons have different views surrounding this, and so we thought it fit to ask you guys to join us today as we hear from different perspectives surrounding this question. Should teachers be armed? Should they have the right to carry a licensed firearm whilst they are on campus? So, Mr. Smith, we'll start with you. Since your installation as JTA president, what are some new findings surrounding this matter?
Thank you for having me, and let me use the opportunity to greet my colleagues, Leighton and Linvern, and as well as all the other educators, and generally those who are listening to us this afternoon. Now, having been installed as the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association in August of last year, the issue concerning violence in school has not just been one that started at my elevation to the post of president, but one that existed prior to and has been with us for a long while now. However, the issue of requiring teachers to be armed, if I pardon my expression, but is one of the most ridiculous arguments I've ever heard proffered in education. And I wonder if the persons who are suggesting such have even thought about what they're saying before spewing such things into the atmosphere. Let me share with you some of the reasons why I think it is a ridiculous idea. One, who is going to supply the teacher weapon? Will it now become a part of the teacher's instructional material? What will it be instructing the teacher to do? Who's going to bear that cost? Secondly, we have 24,000 teachers. The Firearm Licensing Authority is already having struggles and issues dealing with the persons that they have on their system now. When we now take 24,000 JTM members, in addition to maybe another 10 or 15,000 teachers who are not JTM members, we are going to have a logistical nightmare in regulating the sector in that regard. Thirdly, when we now say to the nation that teachers are armed, teachers are now going to be walking around with a proverbial bull sign, red sign on their back, telling gunman, here is an easy target, let us attack him or her for a weapon. And remember, our teaching profession or teaching system as it is now is over 80%, trending towards 85% females. So now what we'd have is our educators, rather being able to concentrate on teaching and learning, will now have to be exerting effort and time safeguarding him or herself as they move to and from work and operate at school. And if we go on further, Jonathan, what you'll find is that a teacher comes to school and the teacher has a weapon.
Yeah.
What you'll find is that our students, we may walk in with a Glock 19 or a Glock 22 or a Glock whatever, or a 357 Magnum or whatever gun you want, a Smith & Wesson. And while we take out that and have it on our hip, these children may simply have an AK-47 or a submachine gun of some other kind, because they are not regulated, and they are telling us that now they are carrying weapons, knives, and other instruments to protect themselves. What we'll be doing, Jonathan and Anesta, is almost like sprinkling blood in a shark-infested water and expect a non-swimmer to navigate that space if we should open that. What the nation should be doing is working collectively to rid the country and our society of the scourge of crime and violence. What we should be doing is spending more money ensuring that education, starting from the early childhood level up, becomes such a fundamentally important thing and is seen by society and is valued by society. And we can start that by, first of all, stop having teachers haggle over a simple little increase in salary. Stop trying to let the teachers feel as if they are not important, and the society doesn't see teachers as important, The only time society sees teachers as being important is when their children are at home because the teachers are not available. That is when they tell you that, oh, we need the teachers, because what they have done is reduce teachers to glorify the babysitters rather than the purveyors of education and vanguard of a new direction, a new dispensation that lead to productivity and good social and moral behavior in our society. Our parents have abdicated their responsibility. And as a matter of fact, it would seem as if the state is now saying the teachers and the school must be the sole arbiter on the way our children grow. And when Linvern or Leighton, as principals of high school, try to intervene to curb these children, they become targets of society and the powers that be, rather than help our educators to bring our students in line with what we demand or what we believe is a society in which we should operate. So this idea about arming teachers is a ridiculous one, and I would suggest to all well-thinking Jamaicans, expunge it from your thoughts and let us look at how we are going to transform our society through quality education. And believe me, education is expensive. Nowhere in the world is education cheap. So when we talk about, what percentage of our GDP, what we should be looking at and saying to the persons who are telling us that, education is getting the lion's share, your GDP is too small. Go and get productive. Go and improve your manufacturing, your export rather than your import, so that your net surplus is in a manner that will allow you to educate your children and your people better and reduce the level of crime and violence in our society.
Some very important points there, Mr. Smith. And I just want to bring in Sir Wright and Sir Johnson at this time to give their comments on our question: should we have our teachers and our educators now becoming armed, having licensed firearms? What say you, gentlemen?
So, right, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm good evening, everyone. I just don't think that that's the answer. I believe that one of the things that we haven't been doing as a society is that we have not looked at values as a part of education. We have not looked at values in the homes, and we have not looked at how we can be consistent in terms of what we expect in relation to values in school, in the home, on the streets. And so what you're getting is that I do not think that the kind of collaboration that really should exist in how we establish what values are important for how society should move, and what the home should do, and how the home complements the school and vice versa, and how our public spaces become spaces in which these values are reinforced. I think that it is because we don't have those things why we're having an issue. And I think calling for, you'll hear the Prime Minister, for example, speak of a state of emergency. I mean, ever since I have been around, there has been an extreme response to anything violent. And you don't, to me, you don't resolve violence with extremes. You resolve violence by reaching into people's souls, into the spiritual thing about people. It's not necessarily a church thing I'm talking, but the value system. Respect for others, respect for order, respect for the rights of other people. Those are things that I think that we all need to be doing more. And it's not just about schools teaching them. It's homes that need to be enforcing these things. So when they come to school and school reinforce it, we know definitely that the students understand that there's consistency. When they're going to taxes, there ought to be that. When they're going to churches, there ought to be that. So the children understand that they have no getaway from understanding that these values that we want to shape them in are important. But if we have, if they have loopholes, and I think we have not just loopholes in society, but gaping holes, we are going to have a problem. And until we get together, until the police get together, until the media gets together, until our music gets together, until movies get together, until schools get together, until all of these different social structures and institutions get together to ensure that we are at one in terms of the values that we want for our society, and deal with implementing them in a systemic and consistent way, I think that we'll have a problem. But guns are not the issue. The societies in the world that have a lot of guns, we see the problems that are coming up, and I don't think that you can solve violence by getting even more violent and arbitrary or suggestions about things.
All right, Sir Johnson, what say you?
So, of course, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Guns are not the answer. It cannot be a response to have additional guns in our society when our society is at this time trying to rid itself of the number of firearms and weapons that are being used as the number one factor in many of the murders that we see happening in our country. Of course, in support of the arguments put forward by President Smith and colleague Linvern, there is a segmentation in terms of the approach to the fighting violence in our community, in our country. We need to have a collective, collaborative effort, and this is something that has been echoed. What we find is that the school represents perhaps the single most stable socializing agency left in our country. Of course, the homes are not doing what they ought to be doing. Students are not in churches as they ought to be going to church. The communities are a major competitor to the education that we are trying to promote in our schools. And in many instances, the education that the community is promoting is counter to what we are promoting in our classrooms.
Yes.
What we find, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues all, is that we now have to get to the point where the whole matter of values and attitudes are reintroduced and are deliberate in our schools.
Yes.
The aspect of teaching students to be respectful of self first, of students understanding the the roles that rules play, students understanding that there has to be regard for the morals and the direction that we go in a society that speaks to positive standards is something that we all must take seriously. Now, in my estimation, colleagues, we have not gone this far down the road to arm teachers going in our classrooms, in our schoolrooms. Schools are still considered the safest place for many of our students. And I believe if we allow this, or if we entertain this kind of thinking, then the last glimmer of hope that many of our students have, and by extension, the last glimmer of hope for our society, which lies in our schools, will be taken away. So, in my estimation, we now need to focus on identifying those social issues that must be corrected. How students interact with each other, how they respond to authority, how they are groomed in the community, the role that the homes play in support of the church and the school. These are the areas that we must focus on in tackling the scourge of violence in our society. And I must state, ladies and gentlemen, I must state that for the most part, many of our students are compliant. For the most part, when you speak to students, once you get to their level in understanding the challenges that they are going through, in understanding their context and circumstances, and once you provide them with an opportunity or an avenue to positively express themselves and show to them another way, we find that for the most part, students comply.
Let me pose this one to President Smith. As I've heard the reactions from each of you, I was just wondering what needs to happen for the teachers, because they are in a situation where they do feel vulnerable, they do feel prone to being attacked, and as you said, this is nothing new, but what should the teacher be doing, since you don't believe that carrying a firearm is the way forward? What should a teacher be doing who is in that situation, feeling, vulnerable, like their life is at risk?
You see, it's very difficult for any one person to suggest a single action that a teacher will be required to do. Because it's not as if teachers know that John Brown is coming to school today with a gun.
Right.
What we find is that in our high schools primarily, the dean of discipline, along with the administrators, and there are some institutions with metal detectors and so forth that actually offer some help. It's not the end all to the challenge and the problem we're having. So to say to educators, this is what we expect, it's a little difficult to do. What we want to look at, and I said in another space recently, we put in metal detectors at the gate, but many of the weapons our students are found with on the school compound didn't come through the gate. They are thrown over the fence. They are brought in using different channels. So here we are safeguarding the gate, but the rest of the school is left open. Many of our schools are not secure. They're not fenced properly. There are schools that are used as a thoroughfare for the community. So we want to look at, how do we safeguard our school? How do we make our school environment safe?
Yes.
Shielded from the society, because the school is nestled within us, a community, And when we have our community personnel, our people in general, whether from within the immediate environs or outside, having full access to the school like that, then it poses a challenge. So we have to look at school security in terms of the compound, the property itself. But what we want to look at, you see, and as educators, we have been at pains of trying to let our parents understand. I can tell you, colleagues, that in my 29 years in education, I can tell you every single parent who badmouth a teacher at home. The children come to school and they depict that same behavior. We know the parents who speak good about teachers. We know the parents who inculcate in their children good values and attitude. We know the ones whom the parents can't talk to. I've been in high school for 15 years and I've seen parents come to school and report they trying to project themselves as though they're in charge. And the students color them, draw them up and say, look here, don't come here to show off because, this is not how it operates at home. Now, how do you expect teachers to control your child? Your child, that you carried in your womb for 9 months, nurtured, breastfed, feed with a spoon or whatever, taught him or her how to walk, how to talk, how to do these things, and you as the parent cannot control that child. How do you now expect the teacher to control that child? You see, values and attitude starts in the home.
Definitely.
And I will not recant on putting it forward to the nation that unless our parents step up to the plate and be effective parents, then we will not have a solution to this problem. And when we teach our children, it is okay to do simple things, and you laugh. Lad, she pry me, or lad, in bossing. What you're teaching, you're reinforcing in your child antisocial behavior. And as they get older, these problems get bigger and become more unmanageable. Your children, from as early as 2-3 years old, has become defiant, rebellious, and dictate to you as the parent. And instead of you curb that behavior, you laugh, you smile, you tell your friends about it. And what you're doing is reinforcing in your children or your child negative antisocial behavior. We as a society have dropped the ball, even within the realm of those who are educated, informed, and are in the middle upper class. We glorify the gun lyrics. We glorify the lewd lyrics. We glorify all the things that while we are glorifying them in our behavior and say, oh, we have a right. We are not realizing that we are promoting antisocial behavior. In our advertisement, in the way we, listen, all different facets of life. We say one thing and then we do the opposite. And we must be consistent in doing the right things.
Thank you so much.
We are going to have a serious problem, a greater problem that we are having now. And it brings me to something. I don't know if Linvern or Leighton, because they're in the secondary system, may want to chime in on this. But let us take, for example, the issue of students' deportment for school. Now, let me say to the nation, categorically, teachers are not oblivious of the fact that it's not the type of hair or how your hair comb or how it grew that facilitate learning. We are not fools. We know that. We know that whether you're naked, have on a tight pants or loose fitting pants or whatever, it does not impact the cognitive space in your head. What we are saying, students must learn to obey rules because it is through these channels that we keep a society in an orderly manner. If a parent feels that these rules that the school have are archaic and no longer serve a purpose, go to the proper channel, like responsible individual who have values and attitude which you want to transfer to your students. Go to your PTA meeting, sit down in that forum, discuss the matter, and have the school re-examine the rule. But don't sit at home and say, then lock you after my pants and make you learn, and send the child in a pants that is not accepted or acceptable, or send the girl in a uniform that is not acceptable. You are perpetuating the problem, and you're not being a part of the solution. And in so doing, we are allowing our children to grow loose and then we
Definitely.
blame teachers and the education system for it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Very, very riveting conversation we're having
Yes.
here on Campus Connection this evening. I'm sure this conversation goes even beyond the 1 hour show that we have here on Campus Connection. But very quickly, Mr. Wright and Mr. Johnson, as principals on the ground, what are two quick strategies that you think other principals may be able to implement as relates to combating this whole issue of violence in schools? Sir, right, you first.
My answer may not be conventional enough because I think we have tried so many things in schools that are trying to zero in on schools. But values are not in a vacuum, and good behavior is not something that's in a vacuum. And you see, when we have these discussions, many times we zero in on schools, but schools operate in a cultural setting, in a social setting, right? And what really has to be, if we're looking at a strategy, it has to be a holistic strategy. It has got to be something which involves the parents, which involves the communities, which involves the people, or which involves the transportation operators. Because what we really want is a level of consistency between what is happening at school, what is
Right
happening at
around.
home, and what is happening in the spaces. And I always say that in many instances, sometimes we blame parents too, and many parents are trying, But what is happening, as I always say, what happened between yard and school gate is what really puts a spanner in the works.
Yes.
And in many instances in schools, when you're thinking strategies, we only speak to parents and we talk about ourselves. But in many instances, parents try with them, but what is happening in the music? What is happening in the movies that they're watching? What is happening on social media, right? To me, the important thing is to ensure that your programs within school and the programs within home and the education of parents and those persons who have interaction with children is one that teaches the children to build self-respect, to be strong. Because the important thing sometimes is it is not that they're not going to be exposed to these things, but how strong are they to resist? Because in many instances, strength is not so much what you do, but what you really restrain yourself not to do. And we have got to be so strong in teaching values that one of the big things that we have got to ask our teachers in schools, and we have got to insist, that as teachers, as principals, we are exemplary. That as parents, we are exemplary, because there are many instances which we are blaming these children. But I always say type of parents, and they don't just have that kind of vibe like response like just out of the blue. It is something that they saw. It is some example that they saw. And I'm saying that if we as adults are consistent in our responses to things, then I think that that's a part of this trend. Certainly, I think schools have to be very, very, very serious about what it is they're standing for. Because what I find is that, if this could be a second thing, because I guess I said I'm more full. But in terms of what we have as rules, once we have agreed that these are the rules, I think we mustn't compromise on them. I think that what Jamaica is used to is a blind mentality. And when you force that in many instances, people come and they have all kinds of responses to it. To say that you're fighting black people, you don't love poor people picnic, and all of that kind of thing, or you don't know who you're playing with. Schools go through that kind of abuse.
Yeah.
But there's no society that makes sense, that does work with law and order. And I think one of the things that we've got to do as principals is that we have got to know what we stand for and know what our schools stand for, and educate parents about that and insist on that. And I think that is something that we have many persons understand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Really appreciate it. Sir Johnson, quickly, just one sentence.
All right. So in agreeing, the fact is we have to teach the students from now what it is that it means to conform. And conforming doesn't necessarily mean weakness. Conforming allows you to function in a system, in a setting that is socially acceptable. It cannot be a system where the school is operating in isolation. There has to be collaboration. There has to be a system-wide support. Community, home, school, church. Everybody has to be speaking with the same voice. Adults
Mhm.
must model the kind of behaviors that students must emulate.
Yes.
What we preach is what we must practice for our students to see because they are looking on. And I tell you, as Lynn Vern said, the students didn't just get up and act in a kind of manner like this.
Definitely.
They have learned it somewhere. They are emulating something. So we
Mhm.
have to ensure that the music is clean, the media, what the media promotes has to be wholesome, has to be positive, has to be supporting the message of school, has to be supporting the message that as a society, there is no space for violence. So
Yes.
the schools cannot operate in isolation. And it has to be everybody on board, all hands on deck where this is concerned. The behaviors we see being portrayed by our students are no less violent than the
Mhm.
behaviors being portrayed in our society by the other persons who are promoting this kind of behavior. It is what is seen. So
Yes.
therefore, we have to start it from that or take that systemic approach in curbing this.
Thank you very much, Sir Johnson. Really appreciate it. And just like that, we have to wrap things up right now. Madam Producer, we may have to take this to another week because we have a lot of interesting things to talk about as relates to this particular topic. And so we
Yes.
want to
Wow.
pick up our honorable guest, Roberta Morgan, head boy at the St. Jago High School and top CSEC and Cape Unit 1 performer at the St. Jago High School. We're looking forward to the greatness that you will provide for this country.
Yes, and we also want to thank our producer, Tony K. Brownfield, Timoy Butler for his technical support. Shout out also to Mr. Jermaine Johnson for his continued assistance on the show. Jonathan?
All right. Also, want to say thanks to Mr. Winston Smith, JTA President, Mr. Lynn Vern Wright, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, and Mr. Leighton Johnson, Principal of the Mushed High School, for joining us this week.
Certainly an interesting discussion, and we appreciate all our guests who came on. So we do this again next Tuesday, same time, same place, same host. Until then, stay in school, kids.
I am Jonathan.
And I'm Anesta.